Here's an example of tulip stitch where the tulips are in a nice little garden row, and here they are scattered around in the background to give a little bit of something for the bunny rabbit to jump through. And this stitch, tulip stitch, is also called Slipped Detached Chain, but that's a bit of a mouthful, and tulip stitch is really helpful to remember what shape it's going to make. So it's based on a detached chain, which is the same as a lazy daisy stitch. And it's easiest if you make this with the needle facing toward you. Normally I make chain stitches the other way, but for this particular stitch I like to make it facing toward me. And I've come up, I'm going to do it right-handed first, so I've come up here, and to make the detached chain I just put the needle down in the same hole, and here I'm using my left hand to keep the thread kind of out of my way and position it so that I'm wrapping around this side of the needle. So I'm just going to make that stitch. I'm going to pull it through the loop. So you saw where I wrapped the thread under my needle, and it's going to form that kind of teardroppy shape that you get with a lazy daisy. Now normally with a lazy daisy I would sink the needle right down there and catch it, but here I'm going to make a little bit of a longer catch stitch. And that's because here's the slipped part. That's the detached chain. Now comes the slip. I'm going to come up on this side, and I'm going to add some petals to my tulip. So I'm just going to slip it under there, not going through the fabric, of course. I'm just slipping it under the catch stitch, and I'm using the catch stitch to hold these petals in place. Now if I want to, I can just leave it like that, or I can come back through and add as many petals as I want to. And I'll show you some variations that you can do with that in a moment. But now let's say I want to do this left-handed. So now I'm going to use my thumb of my right hand to hold the thread out of my way, and I'm going to do the same thing. Here's my loop that I'm going to make. Again, my thread is just looping under the needle. I pull it through, I sink it down. Remember to leave yourself enough room. You don't need a giant amount of room, but I might want to put 3 or 4 leaves coming under my tulip. Now this time I'm coming up on the other side. You can come up on either side, so if you find whichever one you find it easier, but this is how it's usually shown for a left-handed person. Now if I want to, I can sink it down and say, okay, I'm finished. Here are some variations I can do. Here's one where I just made the detached chain, and I sunk the catch stitch down, and then I switched to another thread and made the little green leaves. So that's a simple variation you can do. And here are some where you can see you can have the leaves wrapped up a little bit more toward the kind of bud of the tulip, or you can spread them out more. You can have multiple leaves like that, or you can do something like this where I have made one set of leaves, and now one set of little sort of blossomy parts, whatever you're considering the red part to be. And now I can bring it down and make some green leaves, or one green leaf. And you can see you can get really a lot of variation with this cute little stitch. If you have a child that you're teaching how to sew, this is going to be a big hit. That'll usually get a girl engaged in doing some embroidery if she can scatter some tulips in her scene. But I have to say, I have not really grown up yet, because I love to put the little tulip stitches in too. This one gives a really nice effect because it's got the variegated thread, so you really get the feel of being in a garden.